They say curiosity killed the cat. In my case, it was my big mouth and a badly timed impulse to be petty. It started on a Tuesday. I opened my locker, number 48, nothing special, same rusted hinge, same math homework shoved inside, and found a letter. Not an ordinary one. This was on creamy paper with clean cursive writing that read, "To the one who always smiles in the sun, you make the school days feel like summer." It was corny, but kinda cute. I laughed. Wow, someone's cheesy, I muttered, twirling the paper like a baton before stuffing it in my pocket. That afternoon, while waiting for my best friend Theo to finish soccer practice, I showed it to him. "Maybe you have a secret admirer," I teased. Theo blinked. "That's weird, no one really notices me." Right? Theo, the sweet nerd with puppy eyes and zero clue he was a walking BL lead. Everyone noticed him. I didn't tell him the letter was meant for him. How did I know? Because the second letter, found the next day, said, "You always sit by the window during lunch with that dreamy look like you're in a K-drama. I wish I had the courage to say hi." Theo did sit by the window during lunch. I, on the other hand, sat across from him, shoving fries in my mouth. The letters kept coming, and I kept replying. At first, I scribbled a fake note just for fun. "Thank you, poetic stalker. You write like you read too much Wattpad." I left it in the locker the next day, underneath the bouquet, yes, a bouquet, that was probably meant for Theo. But then, he, whoever he was, replied again, only because I met someone worth writing for. I bit my lip and laughed. Okay, game on, Romeo. For weeks we exchanged letters. I never signed my name, neither did he. But through words, I got to know him. His favorite movies, his secret love for cheesy love songs, his fear of public speaking, his habit of pretending to be confident when in reality he panicked if his shirt wasn't ironed properly. It was adorable, it was sweet. It was infuriating because I was starting to fall for this mystery guy who didn't even know I existed. He liked Theo, right? Until one day I saw it, the letter, in his hand. "Oh, no freaking way," I whispered as I hid behind the corridor wall. He was stuffing the envelope into locker 48 with all the grace of a Greek god committing a petty crime. Sebastian Reyes. My mortal enemy since freshman year. Too handsome for his own good. Popular, cocky, and the biggest red flag in the history of red flags. Once stole my science project and claimed it was group work. Got me sent to detention for a prank he did. Flirts with teachers. Thinks he's God's gift to Earth. And he was the anonymous love letter sender. "I'm in love with the red flag," I groaned. I considered telling him the truth. But then I remembered the way he once called me mukhang alpombra when I tripped in the hallway. So I did what any logical, emotionally confused high schooler would do. I wrote one last letter. "Dear you, do you believe it's possible to fall for someone you never thought you'd even like? You've been writing letters to someone who isn't writing back, but someone else did, and that person fell for you too. Let's meet, behind the gym, Friday after class." Friday came and I waited behind the gym. I didn't know if he'd show up, or if he'd be mad, or if he'd laugh at me and call me names like he used to. But then he came, holding the last letter in his hand, looking nervous. "Kieran?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, heart pounding. "Surprise?" He blinked. "You're the one who's been writing back?" I nodded. "Ironic, right? You've been writing to Theo, but I'm the one you've been talking to." He stared at me. I waited for the insults. Instead, he laughed. Of course it's you." My stomach twisted. "Okay, I'll just—" "I mean," he interrupted, walking closer, "of course it's you. Because only you could roast my poetry and still make me want to read more." I blinked. "Wait, what?" He scratched the back of his neck, looking shy. "Sebastian Reyes. Shy. Guess I hated you because you always saw through me, and it scared me," he admitted. Silence. Then I smiled. "Well," I said, "if it makes you feel better, I hated you because your face is annoyingly perfect." He smirked. "You think I'm perfect?" "Annoyingly," I emphasized, poking his chest. He leaned in, eyes twinkling. "Locker 48, he whispered. "Best mistake I ever made." And just like that, I let my enemy hold my hand under the afternoon sun. Turns out high school is full of surprises, especially the kind that come in envelopes. Look, I didn't mean to fall for anyone. I was just trying to flirt with Theo. Yes, that Theo. Soft-spoken, doe-eyed Theo with a dimple so deep you could lose a semester's worth of regrets in it. I thought he was my type. Safe, quiet, looked like he cried while watching Disney movies. Exactly the opposite of Kieran Morales. Kieran, my longtime rival. Mr. Why are you always here? Mr. Your hair looks like a failed K-pop audition. Mr. I'll report you to the guidance office if you cut the line one more time. I hated him. He hated me. That was the law of the school universe. But anyway, back to my failed master plan. It started with a letter. A simple one for Theo, because I was too much of a coward to actually talk to him. I slipped it into what I thought was his locker. Number 48. Turns out Theo's locker was 49. Yeah, so here I was, writing sappy, half-baked poetry, dropping it into Kieran's locker, thinking I was romancing his angelic best friend. I expected silence, or rejection, or the janitor finding it and using it as tissue paper. But then, he replied, "Thank you, poetic stalker. You write like you read too much Wattpad." It was rude and hilarious, and honestly, the best part of my day. So I replied back. And he replied again. Before I knew it, I was living for the letters, waiting for the bell to ring just so I could run to locker 48 and see what sarcasm or insult or soft confession he'd written next. I didn't know who he was, but he was brilliant, witty, emotional in a way that made me feel like I wasn't just a school heartthrob or a walking red flag. He made me feel seen. I told him things I never told anyone, that I faked confidence, that I hated being the campus crush because no one really saw me, that I listened to old OPM love songs at night and cried when no one was around. He never judged me, he just replied, kind of rude, kind of snarky, but always honest, always warm, and then he said he wanted to meet. Behind the gym, Friday after class. I didn't eat lunch that day. My palms were sweaty. I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd thank him, ask for his name, maybe tell him I liked him, whoever he was. I didn't expect Kieran Morales. I saw him standing there, hands in his pockets, biting his lower lip like he was waiting to be punched. At first, I thought it was a prank, that Kieran had found the letters and was going to humiliate me, but then he smiled. Soft, nervous, real. "You've been writing to Theo," he said, "but I'm the one you've been talking to." My brain short-circuited. All this time, Kieran? And suddenly everything made sense. The sharp comebacks, the deadpan humor, the emotional depth hiding under a hoodie and eye rolls. Of course it was him. Of course it had to be him. I laughed. He looked like he wanted to vanish. But I wasn't mad. I wasn't embarrassed. I was relieved. I didn't fall for Theo. I fell for Kieran, the boy I thought I hated, the boy who saw me even before I could see myself. So I stepped forward, took his hand. "Locker 48, I said. "Best mistake I ever made." And when he smiled, really smiled, I knew I wasn't going to let him go. Even if he still calls me a red flag every day, especially because he does. It was a typical school day, and I was walking down the hallway when I noticed Theo approaching me with a mischievous grin on his face. "Hey, Kieran," he said, nudging me playfully. "I found something interesting in your locker." My heart skipped a beat. "What did you find?" He pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This love letter. It's from Sebastian, isn't it?" I snatched the letter from his hand, my face turning crimson. "How did you get this?" "I was looking for my math notes and accidentally opened your locker instead of mine," he explained, chuckling. "But seriously, Kieran, Sebastian? The guy you've been at odds with since forever?" I sighed, realizing there was no point in hiding it. "Yes, it's complicated. We started exchanging letters anonymously and I didn't know it was him at first." Theo raised an eyebrow. "And now?" "Now I think I might be falling for him," I admitted. Theo laughed. "Well, this is going to be interesting." A few days later, during the school assembly, Sebastian stood on the stage, holding a microphone. "I have something to say," he announced, capturing everyone's attention. "I've been writing love letters to someone, and I want to make it official." He looked directly at me, and my heart pounded in my chest. "Kieran Morales," he continued, "will you be my boyfriend?" The auditorium erupted in whispers and gasps. I stood up, feeling every eye on me. "Yes," I replied, my voice steady. Sebastian smiled, and the crowd cheered. Later that day, I was talking to the campus king, Adrian, about an upcoming school event when Sebastian approached us, his expression unreadable. "Can I talk to you, Kieran?" he asked, his tone firm. I nodded, and he led me to the basketball team's locker room. Once inside, he closed the door behind us. "What's going on?" I asked. He stepped closer, his eyes intense. "I saw you talking to Adrian." "He's just a friend," I explained. Sebastian didn't respond. Instead, he pulled me into a passionate kiss, his hands gripping my waist. The intensity of the moment took my breath away. He broke the kiss, leaning in to whisper, "You're mine, Kieran." I nodded, my heart racing. It was a quiet Saturday evening when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I was surprised to find Sebastian standing there, holding a small bouquet of flowers. "Hey," he said with a grin. "Thought I'd drop by." Before I could respond, my mom appeared behind me. "Oh, you must be Sebastian," she exclaimed, pulling him into a hug. "Kieran's told us so much about you." I glanced at Sebastian, who looked equally surprised. Come in," my mom continued. "We're just about to have dinner. Join us." Sebastian looked at me, seeking approval. I nodded, still processing the situation. Dinner was kare-kare, sinigang, and enough rice to feed a barangay. My mom went all out, probably thinking it was some sort of engagement. "So, Sebastian," Dad began as he served him a bowl of sinigang, "how long have you been making our son blush uncontrollably?" I choked. "On water, on rice, on life." Sebastian laughed, brushing his fingers over mine under the table like the smooth red flag he is. "Since locker 48, sir," Mom gasped. "Wait! Don't tell me! You're the poetic secret admirer?" Sebastian nodded, smug. "Guilty as charged." "You mean the mortal enemy is now the main character? Oh my God, this is better than Together the series." Mom clapped her hands like she won the lottery. I could feel my soul leaving my body. "Ma," I hissed, "stop watching BLs with the volume full blast. You're like a one-woman fandom." She ignored me entirely, eyes twinkling. "Kieran, you so owe me. I always said the tension between you and Sebastian was suspicious." Dad laughed. "We thought you were going to punch each other in the face one day. Turns out you were punching each other in the heart." Sebastian winked at me. "Can confirm. Your son has a strong emotional impact." I kicked him under the table. He smirked. After dinner, my mom brought out leche flan, and Sebastian, that flirt, pulled the spoon from my hand and fed me. "In front of my parents?" I whispered. "Love is love, Kieran," he replied, too dramatically. Then he turned to my mom and dad. "You did a great job raising him. He's smart, brave, and has the most kissable." I slammed my hand on the table. "That's enough dessert for you." They all laughed. Mom wiped a fake tear. "Ah, young love. May kilig pa rin ang mortal enemies to lovers trope." Then my dad raised a glass of juice. "To locker 48, the best mistake of the school year." "To locker 48, they all cheered. I wanted to crawl under the table and live there forever. Later, while washing the dishes together in the kitchen, my mom's bonding test, Sebastian leaned close and whispered, "Are you a lock? Because I found the combination to your heart." I elbowed him lightly. "You're so corny. And yet you're smiling. You're ridiculous. You're radiant." "You're mine," he said, eyes locked onto mine, voice low and warm. I froze. My cheeks burned hotter than the sinigang. You stop that. You can insult me tomorrow. For now," he said, poking my cheek, "let me romance you." "Sebastian!" He leaned in closer. "Kieran Morales, if you were a sinigang, I'd slurp you up slowly and regret nothing." I smacked him with a wet sponge. After dinner, my mom pulled me aside. "Sebastian can stay the night if he wants," she whispered. "He can sleep in your room." I stared at her, mortified. "Mom!" She winked, just saying, young love and all. I returned to the living room where Sebastian was chatting with my dad. "Looks like you're staying over," I muttered. He raised an eyebrow. "Is that okay?" I sighed. "Yeah, it's fine." Later that night, the air in my room felt different, thick with the weight of unspoken feelings, heated glances, and something we hadn't dared cross yet. Sebastian stood there, looking a little too good in his gray hoodie and sweatpants, the kind of casual that made my heart pound harder than it had all day. It wasn't just attraction. It was him, his laugh, his warmth, the way he looked at me like I was his whole world. "Rock, paper, scissors for the bed?" he teased, eyes twinkling. I raised a brow. "Deal." We played and I won. I threw my arms up triumphantly, laughing as I dove onto the bed like a champion. Sebastian, dramatic as always, groaned like he'd lost the Olympics. But then he retaliated with a pillow. "Hey!" I yelled, caught off guard as the soft cotton smacked me right in the face. "Pillow fight!" he shouted, his boyish grin lighting up the room. We were a mess of laughter and feathers, wrestling like kids, until we collapsed on the bed, out of breath. Our chests rose and fell rapidly, barely an inch between us. That was when the shift happened. The laughter faded. The only sound was our breathing, slow, heavy, uneven. Our eyes locked. His gaze dropped to my lips, and I swear I forgot how to breathe. He leaned in slowly, his hand finding mine, fingers intertwining like a perfect fit. When his lips finally met mine, it wasn't like the first kiss we'd shared back in the rain. This one was slower, deeper, a promise, a plea, a surrender. "I love you," he murmured against my lips, his voice husky, raw with emotion. "Please don't make me jealous again." God, I didn't mean to. I didn't even know I could affect him that way. "I love you too," I whispered, wrapping my arms around his waist, pulling him closer, feeling his warmth press into mine. Something shifted in that moment. The playfulness faded into something electric, something dangerous. We weren't just two boys tangled in bedsheets anymore. We were gravity and fire and need. He hovered over me, eyes dark and searching, asking for something neither of us had dared to voice before. "You sure?" he asked, barely audible. I didn't hesitate. "Yeah." The way his eyes softened, then burned was something I'd never forget. His hoodie came off first, slow and deliberate, revealing toned muscles that had been teasing me all day beneath his shirt. My breath hitched. I'd seen him shirtless before, swimming, training, but this was different. This was intimate. This was for me. "You can touch," he said, a low smirk on his lips as he noticed my hesitation. "It's yours now." I reached up, fingers trembling slightly as they brushed against the hard planes of his chest, the curve of his collarbone, the warmth of his skin. He shivered at my touch. Then he guided my hand lower, letting it rest against him, hard, thick, pulsing with heat beneath his sweats. My eyes widened instinctively, a flush creeping up my neck. "Go on," he whispered, voice dripping with something sinful. "You can taste it too if you want. It's yours, Kieran, all of me, always yours." The possessiveness in his voice sent a jolt straight down my spine. My heart thundered in my chest. I couldn't tear my gaze away from him, his confidence, his vulnerability. The way he was offering himself, not just physically, but completely. It made me feel powerful and fragile all at once. I leaned up, pressing a kiss to the center of his chest, letting my lips trail along his skin, tasting salt and warmth in Sebastian. He hissed softly, threading his fingers through my hair, guiding me as I explored him with my hands, my mouth, my heart. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't just lust. It was slow and maddening, every movement deliberate. He peeled my shirt off next, eyes roaming over my bare skin with reverence like he was seeing me for the first time. His hands were everywhere, soft, then firm, learning every dip and curve, every spot that made me gasp or tremble. "You're beautiful," he whispered, like it was a secret he'd been dying to tell me. I kissed him harder, needing him to know I believed him, that I wanted him just as badly. The bed creaked beneath us as we moved, our bodies tangled, our breaths shared. I memorized the way he moaned my name, how his voice cracked when I touched him just right. He whispered things in my ear, sweet, filthy, honest confessions that made my whole body shiver. "I want you," he groaned, breath hot against my neck. I've never wanted anyone like this before. My whole body was burning, aching, craving everything he was offering. "Then take me," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He paused, eyes searching mine again. "You sure?" I nodded. And then he did. Sebastian moved slowly, as if every second between us was sacred. He kissed me again, deeper this time, pouring everything he couldn't say into it. My hands were in his hair, gripping gently, kneading him closer, needing him to never stop. He leaned back just enough to look at me. Really look. His fingers brushed the side of my face, the pads of his thumbs caressing my cheeks. "You're mine," he whispered. The way he said it, low and possessive, sent heat flooding through my veins. "I've always been yours," I breathed, my chest rising and falling rapidly beneath him. His mouth was on my neck next, warm and wet, kissing, sucking, marking. I gasped, my back arching off the mattress as his lips found the spot just beneath my ear. My fingers curled into his shoulder blades, pulling him down against me. The weight of him, solid, warm, real, was almost too much, and yet not enough. I felt everything, his breath, his heartbeat, the tension in his muscles, the need radiating from him like wildfire. Our bodies were pressed so close I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. He peeled off the rest of his clothes piece by piece, and I followed suit, each layer falling away like a wall we no longer needed. When there was nothing left between us, no fabric, no hesitation, I stared. Not just at his body, which was strong and lean and flawless, but him. All of him. And then my eyes dropped. I'd felt it, I'd imagined it, but seeing him in all his glory? My lips parted slightly, breath catching. Sebastian noticed. Of course he did. He smirked, proud and flushed. You can stare, he teased gently. You can touch, taste. It's all yours now. He guided my hand to him again, letting me feel every inch, every twitch beneath my fingers. My mouth went dry. My body reacted instinctively, want, need, awe crashing into me all at once. I'm serious, he said, voice lower now, raspier. No one else gets this, just you. He kissed me again, and I kissed him back with everything I had. Tongues, teeth, lips, breath. It was messy and desperate and perfect. I trailed kisses down his chest, over the lines of his abdomen, pausing just above where he throbbed with heat and anticipation. He looked down at me, eyes dark and heavy. You don't have to, he began. But I wanted to. Because it was him. Because he was mine. Because this night, this moment, was something we'd been circling around for so long. I showed him, slowly, carefully, reverently. His breath hitched, his hand clenched the sheets. He whispered my name like a prayer and a curse, like I was breaking him and saving him all at once. When he couldn't take any more, he pulled me back up, kissing me hard, his tongue claiming mine, his body pushing me back into the bed. Your turn, he growled softly, and the way his eyes raked over me made my whole body tighten in anticipation. He touched me like I was something fragile and holy, something only he had the right to worship. My moans were quiet but constant as his hands moved lower, learning my body with both hunger and reverence. I'd never felt so exposed, so raw, so alive. Perfect, he whispered, so perfect. And then he was everywhere, his hands, his mouth, his body, moving with mine in a rhythm older than words. We didn't rush, we savored, we memorized. It was all heat and friction, sweat and sighs, heartbeats crashing in sync as our bodies moved together in the oldest dance known to man. There were moments we laughed, because one of us nearly fell off the bed or got a cramp, and moments we cried without realizing why. Maybe it was too much. Maybe it was everything we'd been afraid to feel until now. When the pleasure crested, intense, shattering, almost unbearable, it wasn't just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, transcendent. I came undone in his arms and he in mine, our bodies tangled, our breaths ragged, our hearts pounding in perfect harmony. We lay there in the afterglow, skin to skin, heartbeat to heartbeat. He pulled me close, his arms tightening around me like he'd never let go. Was it okay, he asked, voice hoarse. I turned to face him, pressing my forehead to his. It was everything. He smiled, eyes glassy with emotion. I meant every word, Kieran. You're mine. I know, I said softly, and you're mine too. We kissed again, slower this time, just lips and love. No pressure, no fear, only us. A few hours later, I stirred beneath the sheets, still wrapped in his arms. The room was dark, the only light coming from the moon outside the window, bathing us in silver. He was already awake, watching me. What? I whispered. You're beautiful when you sleep. I rolled my eyes, blushing. Shut up. He chuckled, pulling me tighter. I'm serious. I still can't believe I get to have you like this. I kissed his chest, my voice quiet. Neither can I. We didn't sleep much after that. We whispered things to each other. Silly, sweet, dirty, deep. We touched, we laughed. We made love again, slower this time, less urgent, but just as consuming. It wasn't just a night. It was a promise. A turning point. The kind of night you remember when everything else fades. When morning came, I woke to the soft warmth of his lips brushing my temple, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my back. And I knew. I was his, and he was mine, forever.